Hi everyone, thanks for joining us on Roads Less Travelled. We've just come up to the Murray River at Ned's Corner Station, north of Coleraine, and we're just driving along looking for a campsite at the moment. These maps will help you to locate just where Ned's Corner is along the Murray River. We're just having to go cross country to bring the van around to this little spot that we've picked as our campsite for the long weekend. Look at that forest, isn't it spectacular? The Murray River is Australia's longest river with a length of 2,508 kilometres. It begins in the high country in Victoria and finishes at Goolwa in South Australia. We've come up to camp along the river for the long weekend. We're just north of Coleraine.
Yeah, so we're actually at Ned's Corner, so between Mildura and Renmark on the Murray.
Out near Loch 9. We see that there's lots of good camping spots along the river road. Good access to the river if you have a boat or you want to go in swimming. We're now just going for a drive along the river to see what else is around and to check out future campsites for another trip perhaps, and just see where the road leads us. So this is the Ned's Corner station we've just driven into, and we're just going to take a drive down by the river. Ned's Corner is about 5 hours drive from central Victoria, 6 from Melbourne, or the outskirts of Melbourne. It's a great place for a weekend away, not that much further than Hattacolkine and Murray Sunset. One of the things I love about the river is that there's so many tracks to explore. Some go inland and some wind along the river. When selecting a campsite, always be mindful of where the shade will be in the afternoon if it's a warm time of year, to ensure that your campsite's not too hot. If it's a cooler time of year, then think about where the sun will be first thing in the morning and angle your van or select a campsite that has morning sun. We've just come back onto the old Mail Road, which is the road that you take to get the river access out of Coleraine. As you drive along, you see these signs that say river access. Just follow those, takes you down to the river at various points along the road. And we're back down along the river again. How's that for a beautiful spot? The scrubland along and around the river has its own rugged beauty. It varies greatly from place to place. There are grasslands with blue bush and salt bush, strips of river red gum or black box, and wetland areas as well. Ned's Corner was first settled by Europeans for agriculture in 1849. The property was named after a shepherd called Ned, who worked for the leaseholder Edward Bagot. After World War I, some of the leaseholders were broken up for soldier settlements. In 1920, the lease was taken over by the Ned's Corner Pastoral Company, and in 1946 the lease was sold again to the Kidman Pastoral Company, which was owned by Sir Sidney Kidman. The station covers an area of 30,000 hectares, and it is currently owned by the Trust for Nature to be managed for conservation. Along the river there's lots of these little tracks to explore and see where they lead to. It's a good way to look for potential campsites and just to see what's around. We found some amazing stuff over the years. As you can see from that bit of a dry bog there, in the wetter weather these tracks are quite treacherous, very muddy and slippery. You never quite know what you're going to find.
Something's left over wood there.
Oh, that'll be a nice find for another group of campers. Is that an island up there by the looks of it?
Yeah.
Or is that a bend?
I think it's an island.
No, it's an island. Look at the map. As we're driving along looking for potential campsites, we keep in mind looking at whether we have internet at that site as well. As we camp mainly in remote locations, we find that we often don't have any internet. So Greg looked into finding something to boost our internet signal. And what are we currently using that we found is good?
Right, so we've got a Netgear Nighthawk 6, I think it is. So it doesn't necessarily boost your phone signal, but it'll give you most of the time data. So it boosts the data signal, but you can do Wi-Fi calling on it if necessary. So far so good, seems pretty capable. I have tested it a little bit by turning it on and off to see if we still get data. Appears to work, but I think the ultimate would be a Starlink satellite setup.
Beautiful. We've about half grown those emu chicks. We've spotted a few of them, but that's the first ones I've managed to get on camera because they're very skittish and disappear into the scrub like that. There's some really private campsites along the river up here, a long way away from anyone else. So if privacy is what you crave, this is a great spot to find a campsite. We've just entered the Murray Sunset Park, which is the second largest national park in Victoria. It's 633,000 hectares and is approximately 440 kilometres northwest of Melbourne. Emus dashing off into the distance there. Oh, there's Snake Lagoon track. Now we were at Snake Lagoon before, but that was on private property. We saw the sign as we came in. We didn't realise we were trespassing. So here's the lock. We're just going to stop and have a look. This is Lock 8. As you can see, the cormorants are obviously getting a good feed. I was reading up about the water rats. They get up to 1.3 kilos in weight. They live in a burrow in the reeds of the river, and they feed on crustaceans, frogs, through the water. And like a homing kitchen, Greg unerringly brings us back to our campsite. When we unhitched the vehicle from the camper rolled back a little bit, and if you can see where the coupling is, it's meant that the point on the back of the vehicle. So Greg has just dug a couple of holes to drive into to lower it. With a little bit of fine tuning, the tow bar should align with the anchor point on the van. Perfect.
Righto, just going to light the charcoal so we can cook a bit of lunch on.
So what have you got there that it's lighting? It's a
Fire lighter.
heat beads?
Oh, heat beads, yeah.
So it's got heat beads in the top, and that burns until they're, did you say grey?
Yeah.
When they're grey, you know that they're ready. See a little flame happening down the bottom. And stinky smoke. And we've got some resident kookaburras up there being harassed by the small birds. Where is he? There you go. So it's now ready. You can see the flame at the top there, and we're about to take it over to use it to cook with. Greg's just saying they should be fully grey, but they're close. Put on there.
Couple of minutes.
Give them a couple of minutes and they'll be right to go. Cooker we purchased from Anaconda. It's collapsible, so it goes completely flat and has its own bag, so very transportable and an easy way to cook when you're camping. And Greg just added that it's also very safe because you can see it's got the ash tray at the bottom, so the ash just falls below there safely and not onto the ground to start fires. This little Spinifex brand fire pit has, you can see it's adjustable, so you can adjust the height of the cooking area, and then once it's done, we remove that and we actually use it for our fire, like campfire, when we don't have an in-ground campfire.
Beer and tongs.
Beer and tongs, all the essential things.
Always rotate your sausages clockwise.
You always rotate your sausages the same way. You get a nice even cook. You can see how they're looking grey, the heat beads underneath there now. Another sublime evening by the river. Thank you for joining us on Roads Less Travelled Off-Road Adventures. Next we're off to Big Desert to explore. Please click to subscribe.